So, go on, and we'll have some questions and then we'll feedback. Go on.
Just say I really enjoyed the film, and I'm aware of your history of violence because I saw you chipping Macbeth at the National.
All right. God, you'd be worried, man. I was like, Jesus. I was going to blame him. I was like, oh, it was you. We just look alike.
And I like to me, it was almost like, it seemed like a kind of Kubrick homage going on with the fight scene on the bridge with Harvey's diving cheek to cheek. There was you know, singing in the rain.
Oh yeah, I doffed my cap to Stanley a few times in that film.
That was great. But the thing that was interesting me, and I suppose it's, I wonder about your funders and backers. I do a bit of writing too, and I use a lot of Scots, and it was great to hear Scots language being totally alive there, natural. You know, it was great to hear that, and I wonder how does that work in the film world as it travels internationally?
The subtitle.
I know,
No, seriously, the subtitle.
I know we're watching Sweet 16. There has been a great debate because they had subtitles.
Oh, I've been subtitled. Just about every film I've ever done, I've been subtitled. Seriously, they subtitle you, and the choice you make is dead simple. Is you'll get the commercial mob that say, if they would only speak English as it should be spoken and understood abroad, then you wouldn't have to subtitle. Now, the minute you say to a kid or an actor, be yourself, not be yourself, excuse me, be as close to your soul, but you're in a different context. Your life is a different context. That's all acting is. It's you in a different context. Things didn't work out the way your life worked out. So all you have to do is make a leap of imagination into thinking, well, okay, I wasn't brought up in such and such a way. I was brought up in such and such a way. So it's not like you lobotomize yourself or you take your heart out, your soul out. It's ultimately you, but like a Rubik cube, it's just shifted around. That's all acting is. If you then say to an actor, now do exactly that, just what you did, but instead of saying doon, say down. Instead of saying shop, say shop. And yet. In other words, bring your accent up to a more middle class kind of accent. The minute you do that, all that other beautiful stuff, bye-bye, it goes. Because the actor's too busy thinking about what he's saying. And I'm going to kick your head in. I really bloody well am. The minute you do that, what you had previous, which was, I'm going to kick your fucking head in. Trust me, I'm going to kick it. That energy, or whatever you want to call it, when you go, whoa, that worked. The minute you say to an actor, now say it, just watch your diction. The minute you do that, bye-bye performance. It just goes. So internationally what happens, sorry to interrupt, but internationally what happens is, because you've made that choice, they will subtitle you. But I would rather be subtitled and you get the truth of their emotions than dilute their language, insult our own country. Because I don't think it's insulting to have us subtitled. I really don't. Because why should anybody understand a Glaswegian accent from Utah? Why should they understand us? We don't produce enough stuff that we could say to the Americans, but by God, we produced trillions of hours worth of television. Surely by now you must understand. The Scots' voice politically is simply not out there. So the fact that it's subtitled, as long as they see the truth of who we are as people, that I'd much rather have than we compromise their accents, and then you've got nothing.
Well, the film, the story is universal. That's a universal story.
Completely.
That we got there. I mean, it was like watching a month or so. I watched that in Gomorrah. The
Italian I know Gomorrah.
Tremendous film.
Yeah, beautiful.
You didn't need to speak that.
No.
To get the story. So
totally. I mean, some of the greatest theatre I ever saw. I think Lenny saw them as well. The Mali Theatre, Leningrad. After 2 minutes, I couldn't bear hearing the simultaneous translation, so I binned the translation. And I understood every single moment of that drama. And it was in Russian, or Ukrainian, I believe. And I understood all of it. Not maybe every single linguistic nuance, but I understood it. I just couldn't bear somebody in a fairly bland, objective voice giving me the dialogue they were saying. I got it. In the greatest cinema I've ever watched, I rarely need the subtitles. The greatest theatre, the greatest art I've ever seen. I don't need subtitles. I look at Picasso. I don't need somebody there stood next to me telling me what Picasso was meaning when he did Guernica. I'm not saying it's not useful to have someone there if you want them. I don't need them. I can approach it by my own means and rights. And I think too much is made of particularly in our own country, because we're part of, we were the first colonised nation, The English one is basically, I'm a Scottish Republican, so that offends me deeply, politically. So politically, for me, it's vital that we give people their real voice, but we have to accept the international reality, which is they don't necessarily understand it.
Yeah.
And I've yet to, we get rave reviews from Toronto, from the Variety, the Hollywood Reporter. Raves off the Richter scale for Neds. And they watched it with subtitles. And not one of them complained. They were like, right, okay, we read it in subtitles because we understand that Scotland's a separate country. We have a different dialect, if not language, out with Old Scots and Gaelic, obviously. And they appreciated it. They took from it. And the subtitles helped them get through it, which, like I say, I don't have a problem with it.
Well, thanks for champions.
No problems, bro.
Thank you very
My
much.
pleasure.
Because we did have Rob Buchanan here recently from Gregor's Girl and That Sinking Feeling. And that was dubbed when it went to America.
Yeah.
And he sat and said exactly the same. He'd have preferred them to subtitle it than dub it. He was one of the few who they allowed him to dub it. And it just seems bizarre.
Well, it's one of those things. Gregory's was made, build and they make it for money, but the Americans thought they would make more money out of it if it was dubbed.
Yeah.
When we did Trainspotting, me and Ewan Bremner were sat down by Andrew MacDonald, and Andrew said, okay, he was giving us all a lecture about our dialect, and he went, okay, you two especially, talking to me and Ewan like we were kids, you two especially, watch this. And he played the first 20 minutes of Gregory's Girl, the dubbed version, and he said, that's what's going to happen to you two. In Trainspotting, that's what's going to happen. Unless you watch Addiction, you're going to end up like that. And of course you're sat there, and it's me and you and Bremner, you're sat like that. Well, you've just dug yourself one big hole, because now we're going to go the other direction. You'll barely be able to understand us by the time we're fucking finished. Don't dare tell us. Once you can start to act, you can tell us to do that kind of shit. But Andrew very much had in mind that Trainspotting was to make money and be international. Yeah. It's not an art. I love Trainspotting, but it's a pop video. It's an extended pop video. It's not a serious movie. But why the hell should it be? Cinema doesn't always have to be serious. But it was made with that intent. It was never meant, unlike something like Ned's, which has a certain serious intent. I was willing to take the fact that we will not make anything like the money that Trainspotting made, but that's not the issue. I would rather somebody see that in 5 years from now and get something from it than the fact, or they pirate it or whatever the hell they do, and best of luck to them. I don't have any, as I say, I've never seen a penny of it anyway.
So on that, is it easier for you to make films in Scotland than it would be to move anywhere else to take? Because I'm assuming it's a worldwide concern. You don't just take money from Scotland.
No, the main finance behind Nez was French and Italian, because Magdalene made money.
Yeah, but is it easy for you to be in Scotland?
It is for me, but I'm in a very, very fortunate position. I can make films anywhere because I've made films and they've worked.
Yeah.
That's
and that helps. The awards,
they give you gongs and stuff, but it doesn't mean as much as when you get an audience that they like, because it's a business. They want to make money, and the fact that Magdalene made money and Ned's is making money, then please God, they'll give me money to make another one. So I'm lucky in that respect. It's a lot harder for young Scots coming through now to make films because we just simply don't have the finances up here. That's the problem.
Okay. We'll open up for questions.
You mentioned the fact that the young actors were so surprised about teachers smoking.
Hi.
Did they react in a similar way, or was the theme that you were projecting throughout the whole film something that they could understand?
Yeah.
Did it really happen this way, or could they relate to things happening now?
I was shocked they related to all of it. I was waiting for the moments when they would go, wait a minute, was that really? There was one moment on the bridge when it got silly, because I like to give my actors as much room as possible to do their own thing. And they started doing this really silly chant, like they'd made it all up themselves. They spoke to one another. So they started going, Gardaí, Gardaí, and they all were going, crew, crew. And this was the biggest pile of bollocks I'd ever seen in my life. But I let them go through it. We didn't shoot anything. So finally I walked up to my lads, gathered them round and said, no, this is not some silly American, they decided, I think they'd all been watching Braveheart or something, they thought it was going to be some big tribal thing. I said, no, okay, let's here's what happens, or here's what's going to happen in the film, is mock one another. And that was the only bit they went, well, slag each other, just have a laugh, slag each other. And then the minute he throws that bottle, the battle begins, which is the saddest part. And for me, what I like about that scene is that when you watch them slagging each other, it's like, Jesus, why don't you just, why can't you just stop there? Just keep slagging, have the laugh. You don't need the violence. You really don't. You're making all your stupid points, verbally, But that's how I remembered it.
So did their input help develop what was happening as well?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, obviously, I would always say to the actors, "You come up with anything better than me," or not. Sorry, you come up with anything, fine, I'll shoot it. If it's completely off the wall, bugger it. Why the hell not? We'll shoot that as well. Because ultimately, if you're going to shoot the way that I shoot, which is kind of, you're looking for things, you don't try and pre-plan everything. The more an actor can just enjoy it and play around and do strange or wonderful or funny things, the better. The last thing you want to be doing as a director is to direct. You don't want to be running around going, no. You walk up to here, you look there, you think, oh, you're aghast. Now you walk, you don't want to do that. But then I've just worked with Steven Spielberg, and that's exactly what he does. So what do I know?
So on that question, how was the Warhorse?
That's what Steven does. Steven micro-directs. He will literally say, okay. Now the same thing, Peter, but look up to the right, then bring your eyes down. Then look, it's micro direction. The antithesis of everything I've ever done as an actor. It's Hollywood. It's not the European aesthetic.
Yeah.
But I loved it.
But do you ever walk on the set and go, yeah, I could go some of this? The big sets, the big budgets, the trailers. It's
never really impressed me. No, big sets have never really impressed me because that's all it is. It's just bigger. The principle's exactly the same.
Yeah.
When I was in Braveheart, we had a £2 million horse, and this thing was beautiful. You'd marry this thing. It was just gorgeous. and he strutted around, and he was cool, and he couldn't hit a mark, and they had to hit this mark for this shot, and he was the horse upon which the guy gets his head chopped off by Gibson, and this £2 million posh stallion just couldn't hit a mark, and you're stood there thinking, this is an $80 million movie, what you gonna do? And what they did was they got a stunt guy, they put the actor on the stuntman's shoulders, and they gave the stuntman a little bit of horse's mane, and the guy went and we all stood there, 4,500 of us, in an $80 million movie, watching a guy going and an actor's on his shoulders going, so, blah, 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 blah. And he's underneath, or below him rather, there's a stuntman going, and it was those were the moments that are perfect for any kind of wannabe filmmaker, because you realise it doesn't matter, you get 80 million, it all boils down to the same thing. Steven Spielberg, this film, I think it's about 100 million. Steven does the same as every other director. We've got half an hour. Okay, run over there, stand there, look up. Okay, and cut. That's a wrap. Film's film. It doesn't matter how much money you've got. The only difference is if you get more money, you can maybe repair it further down the line. But the bottom line is you've got 10 hours to shoot something, and come the 9th hour, everybody panics. You've only got 1 hour left. That's film. Doesn't matter how much money you've got.
Any more questions, gentlemen? There?
I really enjoyed the film, and I enjoyed the banter between the kids, and I like the fact in the closing credits you had the photograph.
Oh, aye.
Right. And the questions for the two Mullans, I think it was like a lot of sibling rivalry. But you come up with the guys, I really like him, and Lenny goes, no way, you haven't him in my film. I went and got his gem, and like no other than that was all. No, not like any fisticuffs or anything, no. Peace and love, right?
You bar me, man. Jeez,
we agreed early on, the ones that because we were both looking for the same truth.
Right.
And we both knew the truth that we were looking for.
So you agreed that beforehand before starting off the whole process, Because I couldn't work with my siblings, it'd be like one big punch-up.
No,
there's loads of other siblings I'm in again here.
That's because I beat him up.